Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Abi Sultan from PBI Regular A4. So, for today's final exam of academic listening classes, I will explain about the education during the pandemic era so far and my opinion of online learning and its flaws and how it compares to offline or classes. So, the coronavirus diseases, or known as COVID-19, was detected in China in December 2019, spread through the world within a few months, and was declared as a pandemic by the World Health Organization, or WHO, on 11 March 2020. Universities around the world had to close their campuses down in the spring of 2020 and shift all their academic programs online. Universities were not prepared for such a transition from classroom-based education to complete online education. Most universities initially lacked infrastructures and strategies for it. There has been a lot of advances in educational technology in the last few decades, and the same proved to be immensely useful during this pandemic. Several online platforms to support online education were available, but nevertheless, it was a challenge for universities to map their educational activities in an online space. Additionally, professors and students also face a wide range of logistic, technical, financial, and social problems. The pandemic and school closures not only jeopardized children's health and safety with domestic violence and child labor also increasing, but also impacted student learning substantially. The report indicates, the one I'm getting is that in low and middle income countries, the share of children living in learning poverty, already above 50% before the pandemic, could reach 70%, largely as a result of the long closures of the pandemic and the relatively ineffectiveness of online learning, according to News Harvard. The pandemic and lockdowns to contain it have affected the mental health of people around the world. Many students are suffering from stress and anxiety. Such psychological issues often also hinder students from adapting to online education. Moreover, not all students have equal access to and expertise on digital technologies. Although these inequalities existed earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed this digital divide and even more exacerbate its issue. In Indonesia, with more than half a million early childhood centers, schools and universities closed, the average time spent on distance learning has varied from only 2.2 to 3.5 hours per day around the country. School closures have also increased the risk of school dropout, putting out of school children at greater risk of child marriage and other harmful and exploitative practices. Now, professors are now delivering courses content through various platforms. Professors are using online educational platforms, video conferencing software, and social media to teach their courses. Online educational platforms like Google Classroom and Blackboard allow professors to share notes and multimedia resources related to their courses with students. The online educational platforms also allow students to turn in their assignments and professors to keep track of the progress of the students. Video conferencing tools like Google Meet, Zoom, help in organizing online lectures and discussion sessions. And then as for my opinions on how effective online learning is and its flaws during this pandemic era all this time, I can conclude that first and foremost, online classes or learning could actually compare to traditional learning inside your typical class in terms of interactivity, motivations, the materials presented, the tools, and overall the general feelings of hearing the teachers teach directly. Online indirect learning, however, still has a lot of merits in and of itself, even if the con outweighs the positives. We could still be learning at one thing or two about how online learning works and how it might actually be better for some students. First up, when we just started off on our university, our first day at campus, we have to adjust to how indirect learning operates, and so does the lecturers little by little. When the pandemic had taken up and everything started to close down for 1 year or longer, traditional learning or offline classes has the most advantages so far when it comes to how much knowledge we could stuff our brains with. Listening to the teachers directly has much better chances for the materials to enter our heads than hearing it via indirect means or online applications. Offline classes and online classes, for one thing, are active driven and passive driven respectively. Students goes inside class with the motivations to study and be active during classes whenever the circumstances told them so. As for online, it's more silent, and there could only be very limited interactions between fellow students and lecturers. The materials presented must also be adjusted according to radical changes to how classes works now. If before the classes are adjusted for offline learning before the pandemic 2019, now it is now very different on how the materials are presented by the lecturers. So, though the bad thing about offline learning is how inflexible and stiff the schedules sometimes is. It could be moved to other times, no compromise, anything. So the schedules are fixed no matter what, and students and the lecturers teachers must follow that every single time. And of course, don't forget about the distances. The poor distances to schools or campuses students might have had to travel each day, and the parking prices and the transportations, the oils, I mean the fuel prices that it entails. On this aspect, online learning shines compared to offline learning because that's the great thing. Online, you can attend from anywhere else, low cost and flexible schedules. But the problem is that sometimes there is internet issues and it could cause and I mean if you can't connect to the internet and attend the class, it could cost you maybe up to an entire day's worth of attendances. It's going to be really bad if your devices ended up doing that. Yeah, I think that's my 2 cents about the educations during the pandemic. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.